Hey mages, welcome to today's video and to Total MTG. If it's your first time here today, this is the very exciting time, the video you've all been waiting for, my first budget decks for March of the Machine Standard. I've got three really good competitive zero rare decks for you, and you know, for zero rares they really can give those big heavy rare meta decks a bit of a match. I'm not saying you're going to win them all, but you will definitely put up a good show. This is what we want when we're playing zero rares. We want to be able to get wins and not be able to spend loads of money cashing in. Start the season, you know what it's like. You either spend loads of money on wildcards or anything like that, or packs. But it's a good time while you're finding out the cards where you want to spare your rare wild cards is to play something that's a little bit different, and it still means you get to play with a set potentially as well. So 3 zero rare decks, and without further ado, let's get to the first one. So we're starting off with an Orzhov Phyrexian tribal deck. We got some really cool cards in March of the Machines, and this was one that stuck out to me. It was Sculpted Perfection. It's an uncommon. When it ends the battlefield, you get to incubate 2. And if you're new to the game, incubate 2 is you create an incubate token with 2 +1/1 counters on it. You have to pay 2 to transform it into that Phyrexian artifact creature. Phyrexians you control get +1/1. So it's our little anthem in the deck, and we're going to play a full 3 of these in there. So this is a tribal deck with a lot of creatures. We have 26 creatures in this deck with 10 non-creature spells, and then the CMC average is 23 as well. And as you can see, the creature type Phyrexians is all 26. So very tribalistic, and yeah, we have all the synergy, because when you're playing zero rares, to compete, you have to have synergy. You really do. You know, you need to have a deck that is going to work well, and synergy helps battle against, you know, some really good decks. So let's start off looking at what we have. There's a few toxic creatures in here. Crawling Chorus. I think they called it Crawling Circus. Where would that would have come from? Phyrexian Horror 1/1. It has Toxic 1, and when it dies, it makes a Phyrexian Might. So even when it dies, we still get that Phyrexian. And like, if we get these down, like I said, everything is going to get +1/1 as well. This is a cool card. Benedict Sleeper is a 3/1, so good stats. It has pay 1 black kicker in the cost, then each player sacrifices a creature. So potentially with something like Crawling Chorus on there, once it's been down turn 1, maybe got an attack in, we can then, you know, potentially use it later as a sack effect for Benedict Sleeper as well. Next in is the 1/1 double striker, Toxic 1. Like I said, there is a bit of a toxic slight theme in here, but it is definitely Phyrexian tribal. This is just a good card, and when it's got +1/1, a 2/2 double strike for 2 mana, or even just a 1/1 double strike is really good. If this is on the field and gets this attack in, you do the first strike damage, do the toxic, and then you do the second strike damage as well. So then you're going to be doing 2 little hits with it. New card, Norn's Inquisitor. Inquisitor ends battle, we get to incubate 2, and this has a really cool effect in the deck. Whenever a permanent you control transforms into a Phyrexian, put a 1/1 counter on it. So with incubate 2, we have running a full 4 of these in here, and obviously with Sculpted Perfection as well, that can make an incubate token as well. We can then flip them, give them counters, and then they will get the buff up from the Perfection, which is, you know, a really cool synergy for this deck, I find. Elas, Sadistic the Pilgrim, Death Touch 2/2, trades with, you know, pretty much everything on the ground. Ends battle under your control, you gain 1 life when another creature enters. When another creature you control dies, each opponent loses a life. So we have that gain and drain sack effect with this as well, which is really cool. And yeah, it's a really cool card for the deck. Annex Sentry. Bit of removal for us, because, you know, we're very heavy on the creatures, so we need to be able to survive rafts and everything like that, and be able to rebuild our board, because there is so much removal in standard currently. So this is why we run 26 creatures. This can exile the target artifact or creature opponent controls with mana 3 or less, has right big stacks 1/4, so we'll be able to block some really good stuff, and has Toxic 1 as well. The way to slow down our opponents is this new card, Phyrexian Censor. Each player can't cast more than 1 non-Phyrexian spell each turn. Very good for us. Non-Phyrexian creatures enter the battlefield tapped, so potentially when they're trying to get blockers for the toxic or anything like that, we might be able to get through and get the win. This is a really cool new card for this, and it's a great uncommon. When it was released, it was the second most expensive uncommon in the set, and you can see why, because it is a bit of a taxing card, and potentially could see some play somewhere else. But, you really need the Phyrexian Tribal to have this, do a lot of work, and it will do a lot of work for us in the deck. Removal. We have a 3 cut down in there, destroy target creature with total power and toughness 5 or less. We all know about that one. Ossification in there as a couple of. We do run, plenty of basics for this to be good. Couldn't really fit any more in there, potentially, because, we have 4 removal here. You could potentially, if you're finding that this is always being killed, you can maybe drop one and add an ossification, which is a little bit harder to remove. But at the moment, the way I've been testing these decks, this is where, this configuration has been working really well. But, if you haven't got any uncommon cards for any, you've just got 3 of these, but you've got another one of these, it's a fair swap and you can just put it straight in there. Also, go for the throat. Destroy target non-artifact creatures. There's a lot of big stompy creatures around, and this is just becoming better because there's a few less artifacts being played, and go for the throat has just got a lot of better since this set has rotated in. Land base, all commons and uncommons. We have, in fact, it's all commons. I thought this was an uncommon, but it's actually the Drospits and the Fair Basilica are actually commons, which is really good. Pay 2, draw a card, we have to sack it. We've also got the Sunlit Marsh in there, comes in tapped, but it does tap for both colours, so we don't get stuffed on the lands. Scout Barons gains a little bit of life to help out as well, but we have plenty of basics, 14 basics as well, for this deck to hopefully be able to play their turn 1, turn 2 plays. On curve, we do have 8 tap lands. If you're finding this a problem, I've not found it a problem, but everyone's arena draws are a lot different. I wouldn't blame you for dropping 1 and 1 and maybe going for that, because these obviously do come in tapped as well. So yeah, 10 tap lands, but 14 untapped lands ready to get our aggressive tribal deck down and start hopefully either winning by toxicity, winning by drain, or just winning by just really good attacks and having multiples of these on the field, and our big Phyrexians just go in for the win. But yeah, this is a really cool first deck, 0 Phyrexians in the spirit of the new set. But let's get on to the second 0 rare deck. Now we're going for Dimir Draw 2. So this is a deck based around drawing 2 cards. We have cards in the deck that revolve around that, like Faerie Vandal. When you draw your second card, put a 1/1 counter on it. We've got Thopter Mechanic as well from, I think it was Brothers War. Whenever you draw a second card each turn, put a 1/1 counter on it, and when it dies, you make a token as well. Also, from the new set, Evangel of Synthesis. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card, then discard a card. So this can help with another draw effect with our creatures that, you get better with the extra draw card. If we haven't got any card draw in hand, this will actually help out and put this on the field. As long as you've drawn 2 or more cards this turn as well, the Evangel of Synthesis gets +1/0 and Menace. So then becomes a 3/0 Menace creature as well. So very good, like I'm talking about, synergy like we needed in the first few decks as well. We also then have another draw your second card each turn, put a 1/1 counter, Lat-Nam Adept. This is just in there as a tool. Hopefully it's a 4-mana card. We put it in as a tool because it's still good, 3/3 stats. But these at 2 drops are pretty strong for me. We also have from the new set as well, Gurgling Anointer with absolutely amazing art there. I love it. 1/3 fly. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, put a 1/1 counter on it. When it dies, return another target creature card with mana value less than or equal to its power. So we get 1 counter on this, and then potentially we can return our Faerie Vandals, Thopter Mechanics, and Evangel as well. So very good card from potentially recurring as well, and getting that synergistic with the draw your second cards. Now, with this type of deck, you're going to want a lot of card draw as well. So we have 4 considering there. Surveil, draw 1. We also have Tainted Indulgence, draw 2 cards and discard a card unless you have the 5 or more mana values in there as well. I just realised as well that the mana base was completely wrong. I added these 4 and 4, so then I've just taken out 4 and 4 of these. I was just recording and saying we have 23 base. I was like, geez, actually we've got like 31 lands or something stupid. But yes, we are playing the Thirst for Discovery. Draw 3 cards, discard card, 2 cards, so more drawing your second cards there. We could even do it on opponent's turn because that's draw 3, and then we have 8 basics and 7 of them, so that's 15 basics in total. Lands, it's just confused me today quite clearly. And new from the new set as well, Meeting of Minds, convoke, draw 2 cards. So potentially with creatures down on the battlefield, this can be a cheaper card to cast, and yet again draws 2 cards, so we can do it in opponent's turn as well. Just added into the deck because of a nice bit of power is Tolarian Terror. We've got lots of, spells in the deck, 18 creatures, 19 non-creature spells. It has War 2, it's a big beater, and, budget mono blue decks and everything, mono blue itself plays Tolarian Terror because it's just a good card. The War 2, and gives us a big stompy creature on there as well. In the deck for removal, we have Rona's Vortex. We can play the kicker because we're playing Dimir actually, and return target creature or planeswalker. There's probably going to be a few planeswalkers in this, the new set. Ren looks pretty good, and maybe, Chandra gets played and a few others. But hopefully we're tapping away and getting the wins before something like a big Chandra comes down. We got Go for the Throat as a 2 of as well, and Infernal Grasp in this deck as a 2 of. And that is pretty much the main board of the deck. The land base, now it's corrected. 4 Waterfront, draw a card as well, extra bit of draw, bit of life gain with the Dismals because we obviously are full on budget, commons and uncommons, nothing else, and then 15 basics there as well. The CMC average with this one is 2.5. So not entirely high. We have a lot of 2 drops, and but yeah, this deck has been working pretty well. It's been really good playing. You might think it's strange not having counters in the deck, and that's maybe something you could look at, but we really need the card draw. So we're looking, more of a tempo kind of deck, and not really a control type of deck. We have removal, but more of a Dimir tempo deck. I really do enjoy playing this one, being a blue mage myself, but to be honest, I've enjoyed playing all of them. But yeah, Dimir Draw 2 is your next 0 rare deck, but let's get on to the last deck. So the last deck is a 0 counters deck in the colours of green and white, Selesnya, and we got some pretty sweet funky cards from the March of the Machines. This one of my favourites, Botanical Brawler. It's got trample because green and a white, ends a battle with 2 1/1 counters. Win over 1/1 counters upon another permanent control. If it's the first time, put 1/1 counters have been put on the opponent, put a 1/1 counter on the Botanical, and I'll tell you what, this can get out of hand, this Botanical, and because it's got trample, it just makes it such a cool card. We've got one of the best cards from the new set as well, Cami of Whispered Hopes, in uncommon. If 1 or more 1/1 counters we put on a permanent control, that many plus 1/1 counters are put on the permanent instead. And when this gets big, we add X mana of any one colour with Cami's power, and that can really help you get stuff out, a lot quicker as well, maybe multiple stuff as well. This really is a deck about putting counters on. It is so fun. Roaring Earth. Whenever a land ends the battlefield under control, put a 1/1 counter on target creature or vehicle, or we can channel it and make a hasty creature as well. So, idea of the deck, putting counters on, Invasion of Moog. One of the invasions, I think this is very good and synergistic with the deck. Ends the battle, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. I love this. This deck is just so fun to play. It can just get out of hand. I've had some crazy games with it. Then can flip. Bloom Warder Dryads can flip if we manage to attack it if you want to. At the beginning of your end step, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. It's a 3/3 with Ward 2 as well. So a little bit harder to get rid of as well. Also, let's go looking at some new creatures as well. Enduring Bond Warden is a 0/1, but it has backup 1, so we can go in there, turn 1, put the counter on it. When it dies, put the counters on another target creature you control as well. We could also put that on another creature, because then it will gain that as well, which would be pretty cool. Iron Apprentice ends the battle with a 1/1 counter. When it dies, put those counters on another target creature. So with all the removal in current standard, my idea of this deck was, even if the creatures die, potentially if we've got we've really got another creature on, we might be able to move those counters over and make something even bigger. And then if it's going on something like that with trample, we get over for the win. That's the idea anyway. Parish Blade Trainee. Trainee is good with counters. When it attacks another creature with greater power, you get to put a counter on this. And when it dies, put its counters on another target creature. So you're getting the theme of this deck. Pass your counters over and put the counters on. That is what the idea of this really, really fun deck is. Last creature we're going to look at is Sigardia Paladin. As long as you put 1/1 counters on a creature this turn, the Paladin gains trample and lifelink, and it's a big 4/4, which is cool. We can pay 3 and target creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it gains trample and lifelink. So we can give trample to a lot of other creatures as well, potentially. We've got many ways to put counters on decks, and this will just help out the deck even more. This deck has, probably one of the Phyrexian Tribal has so much synergy, but this one has a lot as well, and yeah, a lot of fun to play. Really cool card I want to talk about from March Machine, which goes well with this, is distributing the 4 1/1 counters among up to 4 target creatures. They gain vigilance and trample. If we can hit every creature, put a 1/1 counter on it, just makes 1 on each, and then Botanical Brawler will just go off and go absolutely insane as well. This is a really cool card and a nice little combat trip for us as well. In these colours, we do still have a fair bit of removal we can use. The new card Seal from Existence, the War Through in this, and it attacks our target non-land permanent, which makes this really good. Unfortunately, doesn't get round those naughty Invoke Despairs, but we do run a 4 of Ossification, which is another bit of removal. We do have a lot of nice removal in white at the moment. And then Destroy Evil, that can destroy that Sheoldred when it comes down, please. Yes, that's what it does. Or destroy target enchantment as well. So a bit of instant removal for Sheoldred, because that is just a naughty card. And I'm talking about the old one. The new one seems just as bad as well, but maybe not quite. But yeah, it's a good way of getting rid of those big toughness creatures that cause us problems. Token decks, potentially we can just trample over with this. It makes it a lot easier. Mono red is really quick, but we've got lots of early creatures we can get down, turn 2 removal as well that can hit, target creatures or planeswalkers, so that's good as well. Go to the land base. We have 14 basics there. Then I'll be chucking in one of each of these cards in the decks because they're just good draw cards, pay 2, hunters and that. And the Blossoming Sands as well for the life gain. And yet again, using the card draw for the Botanical Plaza. Comes in tapped, but the card draw can help a budget deck get through. And if we can get it in lands as well, that just means more spaces for all these lovely creatures, which we have 20 of, 16 non-creatures, and it has a nice 2.4 average. So average is pretty on par with all of our other decks as well, because there's so many good 2-drops for us budget players at the moment. So that is the 3 decks. Let me know what you think of them. I will do gameplay with these decks as well, and in those gameplay videos, because it's always asked, I will do upgrades for them as well. But this is strictly for the budget players, so you'll have to come back and see the other videos with some gameplay, and then we'll talk about how we can improve these decks with a few rares as well. If you've got any ideas for the rares for decks, just chuck them in the comments down below. I'd love to see it. And if you enjoyed and appreciated the budget decks and the budget videos and all the other videos, please just give the video a big thumbs up and watch until the end here if it really does help out. If you haven't seen my previous video as well, YouTube hid that. I put it on a post on the community. It was my vlog from pre-release. Please go and give that a watch. It was my sponsored video from Wizards of the Coast, and I would like to, would have liked it to get a lot more views, but YouTube just hid it. It just does it sometimes. Nothing I can do about that. But yeah, if you can go back and watch that, I will, very much appreciate it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed today's video. There'll be another one very soon, so make sure you've got the notification bell going, and you lot take care and enjoy the rest of your day.